Welcome back to another episode of the Fifth Quarter Podcast. I'm your host, Marcus Jones, the Bluff City Cowboy, coming to you live from Memphis, Tennessee. And we are back with another episode. Unfortunately, this is not a Victory Wednesday, but we still have a lot of great Cowboys news and notes to discuss. This is a rivalry week, so as
Yes.
always, I'm joined by Amanda Foster, the creator and co-owner of the DC4L brand. So, Amanda, thank you for joining us tonight.
Thanks for having me. We have got a lot to talk about.
So, I see the views are starting to grow pretty quickly. Looks like we got a lot of people watching from DC4L tonight. So, thank you guys for joining us. If you guys haven't done so already, all you guys joining us from the DC4L Facebook group, make sure you go over to YouTube during the show or after. DC4L also has a YouTube channel as well as a X, formerly Twitter page. So be sure to go to YouTube, go to Twitter, type in DC4L. It should pop right up. Help us get our subscribers up. Also get on Twitter and join in on conversations there as well. And as always, you can find me at Bluff City Cowboys. I see we got quite a few people watching from YouTube right now. So for you YouTube watchers, if you happen to go on Facebook, find DC4L, join that group. A lot of great dialogue. It's a safe space for Cowboys fans. Giveaways, prizes, just an all-around great Cowboys content group. So join that Facebook group. Also, DC4L on YouTube, Bluff City Cowboys. Let's see, we got a couple of comments joining in. So this is a show that's fueled by the viewers. So be sure to get in those comments. I see we got Jeffrey Dunnigan joining us, a long-time watcher, long-time commenter.
And don't forget, y'all, once we get both of our YouTubes up to 1,000 subscribers, a full-size helmet that's autographed will be given away. So make sure y'all get those up, okay? Let's get those numbers up to 1K.
All right. Marty, I'm assuming it's Val or Val. Do you know who this is, Amanda?
I do not. Marty Vale, maybe?
Okay.
Vale?
Marty, thank you for joining us.
Yes.
I love the optimism, thinking that they'll beat the Eagles. We try to be as optimistic as possible, but we'll talk about that later on in the show. We got a lot. Yeah, we got a lot to digest tonight. The views are still going up. If you haven't done so already, also hit that like button. Let's get those likes to match those views to keep our engagement going up. We've got a lot of eyes who are watching DC4L right now outside of the fan base. So your engagement will help get those eyes and those views up around the country and on other networks.
And don't forget to share too. We've got giveaways tonight. So if you know Cowboys fans, tag them, bring them in. We've got several giveaways tonight. So this is technically our anniversary show. It's been almost a year since we launched the fifth quarter.
I didn't even realize that until you brought it up.
Yeah, I had the memory pop up. I think we launched it last week, and it was against the Eagles. It was. So this is technically our anniversary show. So Marcus has been a phenomenal host, and I'm excited. So welcome in.
We've definitely grown a lot since last year, and it's going to continue to grow. I can definitely feel it. Tim Estabrook. I recognize the name. Haven't seen you in a while. Thank you for joining us once again. Appreciate your support. Marty says he's been a Cowboys fan for 56 years. So.
Man. Dedication. You've seen the good and the bad.
Yeah.
There's got to be good coming again soon.
All right, so we're going to go ahead and get into it. We got a couple of giveaways we're going to do throughout the show. We'll probably do one close to the middle of the show and then one at the very end. All you got to do is stay on the page, keep those comments coming in, and get ready for a couple of trivia questions. So we're going to do things a little bit different this week. Normally, we do a game recap and just everything that happened during the game and after. We have so many topics to digest. We don't like to have the show go for too long. So we know what happened on Sunday. We're going to talk about some of these major storylines and topics that have happened since Sunday during the game and after. So let's go ahead and get into our storylines.
Storylines.
All right. So the first storyline we have to touch during the game, Dak Prescott was making what looked like a routine out route throw. And if you watch the slow motion replay, you can see kind of a twinge or a pop in his hamstring. And he wasn't hit. He came up gingerly. After the game, he stated that he never felt that feeling before. Doctors kind of confirmed it was a hamstring. And then, what was it, today, Amanda, or yesterday?
Today.
Yeah, what was the news we got today?
Okay, so if y'all haven't heard yet, it, as typical fashion, when something happens to a star player for the Dallas Cowboys, it was completely downplayed. I have no clue why Dak Prescott isn't already on IR. In fact, honestly, he's probably going to be on IR the rest of the season. So the news came out that his hamstring pulled off the bone. Dak's hamstring pulled, like it was like meat off of, a rib. You're sitting there eating a rib, you want to get all the meat off. That's what his hamstring did. It is terrible for him. And that's going to be something that they let heal a little bit and build up some scar tissue. Then they go in, they reconstruct that hamstring. They like reconstruct it somehow. And then you have to work on strengthening it again. It is a very, very, very bad injury. And then you will have hamstring issues to go. That's something that will plague him now for his career. It is in typical, you sign someone and they get hurt. We've seen that over and over again, unfortunately. But
I remember we were watching it live, Amanda. I told you guys in the group that he's probably out for the year because of this hamstring injury.
Yeah. And the point is, if they don't if they try to rush him back, I don't know why CD shouldn't play. I know we're going to get to that next, but anyone with a brain, and I know, I want to be optimistic with everyone. To the folks that are watching this, like, oh no, here she goes. Look, it's just the facts are, at the beginning of the season, Marcus and I discussed this over and over and over again, that we were playing addition by subtraction. That's literally what Jerry did. And he waited until all these other higher paid quarterbacks. He could have got Dak at 55 if he was going to sign him. I mean, $5 million is fine. I mean, honestly, probably could have gotten him around 53. But Jerry waited in typical fashion. He waited with CD in typical fashion, dragging out those headlines. So we didn't do anything in the offseason, and they were looking for a scapegoat. Everyone knows it's going to be Mike McCarthy this season. Yeah. That's it. But there's really no reason to play Dak anyway. Put him down, because I see the comments. I know you look at you think Cooper, woo, look what he did last time. This is not the 2021 football team. This is not the 2021 team that carried Cooper Rush to wins. I'm sorry. Look what happened when they played the Eagles that first time, 3 interceptions for Cooper Rush. It's because they played a better team. The defense couldn't make up for the lack of playing ability in Cooper Rush. He's a game manager. But needless to say, we're just going to go for the best draft pick, which will be nice to hopefully pick in the top 10. Sorry, I got on a tangent. Just it's going to be rough. It's going to be something. And I don't even know. I was looking at the time on that. I saw 7 to 9 months for an injury like that. So now, I'm not a doctor, but if it is 7 to 9 months, that's going to be really cutting it close to even be at, training camp. So,
yeah. And to kind of just piggyback on what you said about 7 to 9 months, the problem with soft tissue injuries like that are, you can repair it, but you never can tell when it's fully healed.
Right.
That's a big muscle, a lot of moving parts, as you guys would know. Even if he comes back, it could be easily strained. Just pay attention to some of these guys this year who have less severe hamstring injuries.
Yeah.
AJ Brown tweaked his hamstring first week, tried to come
Collins.
back. Yeah, I was going to get to that one, but yeah. AJ tried to come back the next week, messed it up. He's out 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Nico Collins messed his up, tried to come back the next week. He goes on IR. The hamstrings are just one of those tricky muscles where you have to wait till it feels better, and then the only way you can test it is to go back to those strenuous activities and see if it can hold up. A former Cowboys safety, Matt Johnson. Remember him?
Yep.
Tons of potential. We never got to see it because his hamstring kept messing up on him. So this is one of those things somebody made the comment. I don't know if it could be career threatening.
It could be.
Matt Johnson, what I just brought up, he had
very well could be
because of those hamstring injuries.
And on that note, just on Jeff's comment, that's why players seek high contracts right there, because it takes one play that can ruin your entire career on that field. So just remember that, I understand where everybody's at with the money thing, but there is reasons that players push. Look at Tua. He's really one can cut. Like, I don't even know why he's playing right now, but it's just remember that when you're thinking about why are players being greedy? Now, I agree. A lot of players are overpaid. I think football players in general make way too much money when you look in the term of things, but that's exactly what it is. And you can't trade Dak.
I was about to get to that comment.
My goodness.
The Jets can eat his contract. But what they can't eat is the $150 million signing bonus we gave him. That stays with the team. And we're only in year one, which means, was it $150 million?
I thought it was 180, 110. Hold on.
Yeah, what was the signing bonus? Because I want to give the right numbers. Let's see.
It was 80 million signing bonus with a guarantee of 231.
Okay.
And did that start this year? Because he had a year left. So I always get kind of in the weeds with that. Does it technically start next year?
Yeah, his contract actually starts next year.
Yeah. So don't forget that we are still on the last year of Dak Prescott's current contract. So you would. Look, you want to talk about crippling a team. Everyone talks about Dak's contract's going to cripple it. Most GMs don't blame their talent for getting paid. Jerry Jones does. So don't buy that nonsense. But if you try to get rid of Dak, Dak's not tradable for the next 2 to 3 years. And he still has no trade clause. Yeah. So you have to get him to agree to go. So.
Yep. Yeah. So he's going to be here for the foreseeable future. Minimum 3 years. Minimum.
Now, if he retired, say it is career threatening, that's when there's a little leeway on contracts. Marcus would probably know the better method on that. But I do know that when players retire, because we were talking about it when Tua had this last concussion, there is some forgiveness kind of for like if a player obviously goes down. I just don't know the specifics. Marcus would have to do it. So it would really depend on the severity of injury. And I don't see Dak retiring. I just don't see that being a possibility. So
when a player retires, they forfeit their guarantees.
Okay.
But they don't forfeit the signing bonus. So if he retired, what was it? 4-year extension?
Yeah, it was a 4-year extension.
If it was $80 million, that means it was spread out over $16 million a year. So let's say this is career ending and Dak retired next year. The Cowboys would take on $64 million in dead cap next year.
Yeah.
And that's a minimum. That's without me doing any more homework, but at a minimum, the signing bonus gets absorbed. And then if the Cowboys wanted to, they could try to recover some of the signing bonus from him, but that wouldn't take its effect until the next year. So, I mean, you're stuck with Dak. And it's going to cost you.
Not going nowhere. Yeah.
It's going to cost you on a trade, cut, or retirement. Big time.
Big time.
All right. Let's see. Any other comments? Cole DeBar said it's going to be a recurring issue. Definitely will be.
Yeah.
Let's see. So, talking about Dak and the injury, Cooper Rush came in and did as best as he could in that situation. And it has been reported that Cooper Rush will be the quarterback this week against the Philadelphia Eagles. So the question is, do you guys think Cooper Rush is the right choice? I see we got Brandon Perez who says possibility of Trey Lance getting some playing time, but only if we're getting blown out. Cole DeBoard saying Dak better not play the rest of the year. Take our losses for the season and gain draft capital. Jeff says Cooper looked decent. Amanda, what are your thoughts about Cooper Rush being the starter this week and possible for the rest of the season?
So
is that the right choice?
I want to look at people. Okay, so he came in and looked okay. I haven't gone back and looked at the film, but if I recall correctly, they were in prevent. If I recall correctly, they were in prevent defense 100%. At that time because they were up 2 scores. And they were able to go more prevent because, of course, your quarterback goes out. I think people are blinded by that 2021 year where Cooper came in and won games. And I know I said it earlier, but I've seen people literally say Cooper Rush is better than Dak Prescott. I've seen people say Trey Lance is better. If either of those stories were actually true, Dak Prescott wouldn't just been made the highest paid quarterback. I'm sorry. It's just neither of them. Okay. Trey, we haven't seen enough of, but he was a risk coming out of college. He was drafted way too high. San Francisco got rid of him because, I mean, they were trying to get something back because of how much they sold just to draft Trey Lance and it not work out. Cooper can win games. I do think Cooper will win a couple of games. But the problem is that 2021 team, someone just said it, it was stacked. That team was insanely good. You look at everyone around him. Amari Cooper was still there, CeeDee Lamb, Micah Parsons had just came. He had Trevon on the defense. It's just something that, we have to take care of. Sorry, I had to take care of something. But I think he's the right choice now, but I don't think it's going to be the result people are thinking. I do not expect Cooper Rush to come in and do anything. Our offensive line is terrible. Our defensive line is terrible. We're bad on both sides of the ball. There is no one to carry Cooper Rush. Do I think he's going to win some games? Sure. Is there a possibility for some? Philly's been very hot and very cold. They're either playing very, very well or they're not playing good at all. It depends on what Philly team shows up. I'd like to see Cooper win. Not because of the nonsense it's going to start in the group, because I already know which direction that heads. Mm-hmm. People are just going to go and say Cooper's better. It'd be sheer luck for Cooper to win this Sunday. Trey Lance is a dumpster fire, and I'm actually concerned we're going to have to see Trey Lance because of how bad the offensive line is for the Cowboys right now. And Cooper Rush is a statue. The man is a statue in the pocket. So I just don't see it being a good situation either way. So.
Yeah. Tim Estabrook saying, I like Cooper, but he is what he is. Like you said, he's a statue.
Yeah.
Might as well see what Trey can do. Bison's was a small school, but he had talent. I feel like we've seen what Trey Lance can do. Yeah. We had this conversation in the offseason. People are saying, well, he didn't get a lot of starts in San Francisco and he was injured and this and that. The guy's been in the league for 4 years.
Yeah.
Whether you played or not, you've practiced, you've played in preseasons. You played in regular season games. He didn't show me that he is a quality starting quarterback who can lead a team. Now, if we want to go back to the single wing T or the pistol, and he runs it 12 to 15 times a game, maybe he can do something. But if we're looking for a traditional quarterback who can drop back and possibly scramble when needed to, I don't see him being very successful. Even with our offensive line.
You want to address Joey's comment first? Because I have something.
Alexander.
Yeah, you'll see it over. Yeah.
Okay. So Joey looks like a new name. So Joey, thank you for joining us. Joey said Cooper beat a healthy Eagles team that was just in Super Bowl. In the Rams, he went 3-1 or 4-1. Only lost to Philly. He is better than Dak. Dak can't throw a bomb like Cooper did. Okay. Go ahead, Amanda. You want to address that?
I do. So let's go back and look at those games. You talk about the Bengals who were just in the Super Bowl. Okay, cool. Who went to the Super Bowl that year? I remember. Do you remember? It was Philly. Philly. They were undefeated when Cooper Rush. He threw the ball 3 interceptions. He had 3 interceptions when he came up to a team that was playing well. The Bengals were not playing well. They did not start playing well until a little further into the season. They were not playing well that game.
Our defensive line was at its best, and their offensive line was a dumpster fire.
Yes. The defense carried Cooper Rush. And I'm sorry, you're welcome to agree to disagree. Cooper Rush is not better than Dak. If he was, he'd be starting somewhere, and he wouldn't have been a career backup. He has been around the league. He's not just been a Cowboy.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just he played for the Giants as a backup. It's just the way it is. And I'm not trying to be hateful. It's just that I think that people are really lost on what Cooper did, and they think that was all Cooper. Some of it was Cooper's a game manager. Like everyone associates Dak as a game manager. It's not love. It's just facts. We were able to run the ball. We were able to defend the ball. That was the year that Trevon had what? How many interceptions did Trevon have that year? Quite a few, right?
9.
9.
And 2 return for a touchdown.
Well, our defensive line is in shambles, first of all. So there's going to be a lot of scoring. That's something Dak Prescott hadn't been able to overcome really either, because every team's running the ball down our throat. Like, that's just the way it is. So Cooper would have to match score for score, and we're going up against Saquon Barkley. Like, that's just crazy. It's nuts. So.
Yeah. And Joey said, don't act like Dak is elite. Nobody here said Dak was elite. Nope. That's the problem, Joey. You guys hear what you want to hear.
Yeah.
We just said Cooper's not a starting quarterback. Nobody said Dak is elite.
No. Nope.
Dak is an above average 9 to 15 quarterback in this league, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I've always said that.
Yeah.
Good enough to have a winning record, but not good enough to carry a team in the playoffs, which there are only 4 quarterbacks in the NFL that I think can do that. And everybody else is pretty much, you have to build a team around them.
Yeah. That's the thing. There's people, when you look at all the people that left the team in the offseason, okay? It's very important to think about. And people are like, well, look at Jaden Daniels in Washington. Jaden Daniels has a hell of a team around him. He really, really does. It's not just the quarterback. Mahomes, yes, I think he's leading the league in interceptions, or he was. Yeah, I mean, but he finds ways to win, and it's mostly because his defense bails him out many times. And Patty comes in and makes a difference. Yes, but there's not many Patties. Patties don't grow on trees. Tom Brady's don't grow on trees. And I'm going to say Josh Allen. I'm not a big Allen fan, but I'm going to put him out there. And then you want to look at that. If you call Lamar Jackson elite, he's got almost the exact same playoff record as Dak Prescott. So there's what I would say 3 quarterbacks in the league that you can really count on when your whole team's playing terribly. So I'm sorry. Yeah. It's just, I think it's silly. And I think people are really blinded by their hatred of Dak Prescott to admit that Dak I don't think he's elite either, but I do think that with the right talent, Dak could get us where we want to go. But the problem is you have a GM who blames the talent that he pays instead of going out and working the cap. Because I can look at Philly. Here's a great example. Look at Philly, very high paid quarterback, 2 of the top 2 receivers that are making 2 of the most money with Devontae Smith and AJ Brown. Money, you can build a team and work your cap, but we have a guy who refuses to do that and just blames the players. So
yeah. And I'll say this kind of big piggyback what you said. Somebody asked, what is elite? In my opinion, an elite quarterback is if you see that player's team on the schedule, regardless of what the rest of the team around him looks like, you think that quarterback's going to win the game.
Yeah.
And by that definition, the only elite quarterbacks are Patrick Mahomes and Lamar Jackson, only because Lamar Jackson only loses to Patrick Mahomes. I could make an argument for Josh Allen now because it looks like he's kind of figured out the interceptions.
Yeah, he's got that down. I'm about to say.
That's his only okay, but outside of that, everybody else, they can be beaten any week if their team's not ideal around them. Cole DeBar, and I'll address this, then we'll move forward. He said Lamar hasn't had the offensive support. Well, if you look at Lamar Jackson's team, How many first round wide receivers have we had in Dallas since Dak's been here, Amanda?
Like not old first round.
No, not Dez Bryant, but
not Dez. So one.
Okay.
CeeDee Lamb.
Lamar Jackson has had Hollywood Brown.
I mean, I guess if you want to count Amari, was Amari a first round pick?
He was.
He was. So I guess you could get that, but that was an Amari that was traded to this team, wasn't drafted here. So I guess you could say two if you want to get technical, but it's one. It's CeeDee Lamb, and we weren't even going to pick him. He just fell to us.
So let's talk about Lamar Jackson. He's had Hollywood Brown. He's had Zay Flowers. He's had Rashad Bateman. He's had
Mark Andrews.
Mark Andrews at tight end. He's also, if we're talking trades or signings, he also had Odell Beckham Jr. So he's had
first round. Didn't he have Dez Bryant?
I wouldn't count Dez because he didn't really play there. I don't count Deontay Johnson was the first round pick. But he's had talent. He's had help. And that's not even talking about the offensive line. That's just skill position. And he has Derrick Henry. So he's had help. But he's a great quarterback. I don't want to take anything from him. But let's not act like he's just doing it all on his own.
No, he's not. And then they have a fantastic defense. That's just Lamar. I mean, our problem is, you look at, we've had good teams, but the problem is there's a difference. We love to home grow talent. Like, it's very rare that we look outside of our draft room unless we're having to fill holes. We don't go after big signings. And I truly think that that's a really big, I know that people say, oh, but look at some teams who spend lots of money in free agency and it doesn't correlate to success. Okay, but we've done the not spend money in free agency and found very little success. Yeah. And I really think that the playoffs think the whole team falls apart. I don't know if it's our scheme, but literally the whole team falls apart. So.
Yeah, Jack Meeker, thank you for joining. If Rush goes down, we become a Wildcat offense. 100% agree.
I literally told Marcus that that's my biggest concern, which I guess I should be grateful for a better draft pick. Trey Lance's accuracy is terrible. Terrible. Yeah. It is so bad.
All right, let me see any other comments I missed. Looks like we pretty much hit all of them. Let's go into another topic just about the games. Okay. So we talked about Dak, and I want to get that out of the way. You guys know I don't like talking about Dak because it always goes down a dark path. Let's talk about the other injury that happened in this game. And CeeDee Lamb was in just obvious pain the entire fourth quarter. Like the warrior he tries to be, he tried to get back in the game, make some plays where he could. Almost had a touchdown, but that shoulder just wouldn't comply. And now there are reports that came out today where he said, I'm playing through this, and I don't plan on missing any games. Amanda, how do you feel about CeeDee Lamb playing through this injury now knowing that Dak is probably going to be out for the year?
I think that sometimes pride gets in the way of health conscious decisions. Mm-hmm. I think CeeDee thinks he has a lot to prove because of the holdout and the very large contract. Mm-hmm. And I think he's trying to prove a point. But if you look at what that is, that injury, that AC joint, it's what it basically is. It's like a separated shoulder in a way, if I'm correct, right? Mm-hmm. I think I read that right. It's like a separated shoulder. And the problem is, like, you can put it back into place, but immobility is really what helps kind of get that shoulder back, and then you can get your full range of motion and everything back together. I think playing in a game that's, in my opinion, is very, very unlikely heading in, even if he was playing to win. I think we'd have a better chance if Dak wasn't injured because he owns the East. That's just something he's been very, very good at. Mm-hmm. But that's been with very talented teams. So I think that it's silly. I think that he should sit. I do not see any reason for CeeDee Lamb to play. Yeah. And sometimes pride can make it worse. And if this injury gets worse, I mean, I guess, oh, well, he's out for the season. The season's over. Great. But, you could also give the opportunity for these younger kids to shine right now, because that's one thing I will say. Cooper Rush practices with these backups on the second team a lot. That's something Cooper does. So, I mean, I expect to see some success there because they're going to have that now I can't think of the word.
Familiarity.
Yes, familiarity. They're going to be in sync in game chemistry. So I think we'll see some success there, but I do not think CeeDee Lamb should play this game. I hope that maybe it's just a distraction to mess with their game plan, but I do not think it is.
I also think we're going to see a completely different game plan with Cooper Rush. And I wish they would do this with Dak, but for some reason, we don't see the quick passes with Dak that we see schemed up with Cooper Rush.
Nope.
So every time Dak tries a pass, it's always like a 3.5 second 5-step drop, long developing play. And then when Cooper Rush comes in, you see more screen passes, you see more slants, you see more quick outs. I think we're going to see a lot more of those. So I think that plus what you said about the chemistry, I think the offense will be, I don't think it'll just be dead in the water. I think it will be a little bit more successful. And I think it would probably hurt CD not only physically, but just statistically, because it's going to be, I think it's going to be a different offense than
we're going to run the ball, hopefully.
Yeah, and we're also going to run the ball more. Yeah.
And that's something that I am looking forward to, because, and that's something else. You talk about the way the scheme changes. I don't know if it's because we're paying the player, paying Dak a lot of money, but that we abandon the run so quickly when it works. And that makes me so angry in general. So I hope, I don't understand either why the scheme is so much drastically different. Like, McCarthy schemes a better game for the backup than he does for the number one player. And I don't understand that myself, but I noticed it that year. I noticed the 2021 year, he had a better game plan. It doesn't make any sense to me. So
it's to me is one of those things where you hear the phrase open up the playbook. Coaches feel like once you have a player who has all these accolades, you have to open up the playbook to just make everything. We don't do exotic, but I would say exotic, when really all you got to do is just play situational football. We call them a game manager, but they don't call game manager plays when Dak's on the field, but they call game manager plays for Rush.
Yeah.
Throw the hitch, throw the out, throw the slant, couple of drags, run some crossers, run the ball. That's what the Chiefs do.
Yeah.
The Chiefs do nothing exotic. Everything they do is within 12 yards. And anybody who watches any games, they look like they're running a 2-minute offense the entire game. 8 to 10 yards. If the tight end or the wide receiver gets us some yak yards, it's great. But outside of that, we're going to get a first down, second and short, run it, get right back on the ball. That's all they do. And to me, that's smart coaching. That's not creative play calling like people try to make it sound. Now, Andy Reid will throw the ring around the rosy in there and stuff like that on the goal line just because he likes to have fun in the red zone. But from 20 to 20, it's all just quick game. Yeah. Same with Tom Brady. It just doesn't make sense that coaches try to outsmart themselves and show that we can open up the playbook with our quarterback, right? Because he's capable of making throws.
We'll see. I'm real nervous because, and on this note of the game, while we're talking about Cooper and Trey, who's going to be the emergency quarterback?
That was my next question.
Really?
That was actually my next question.
We did exchange notes, just so y'all know. I came in winging it. So,
Jack Meeker, I see your question. We'll get to that in a second. And like Jeff said, the deep ball should be an occasional shot.
Not all the time.
Right. When you got the safeties kind of creeping down because you're beating them on the short passing game, that's when you go over their heads. You don't have you shouldn't have a 40-yard 9 route as a part of every passing concept, which is what it seems like Dallas does.
Yeah.
Makes
What
no
game
sense.
was it we just lost with the 4 random deep ball shots? When we got the ball back and we were trying to move down the field, and we went with 4 deep ball threats. Like instead of moving, running, we had like
that was Atlanta when Turpin dropped the pass.
No, I'm thinking of
before that.
It was the game before that. It wasn't when Dak got hurt. It was when we literally had the ball back, and there was like 3 minutes left, and we were going to score. I know y'all have to remember this. And instead of running at all, we're just throwing the ball like deep shots. It's like we don't need to get it all in one
Oh,
chunk.
you're talking about against the Niners then? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So that's just another thing that drives me nuts about this team. So.
Yeah, everybody's saying San Fran game. Yeah.
Yeah. Could have won that game.
So yeah,
we just make dumb decisions. Our coaching's terrible.
I'm actually excited to see them go to a more quick pass game to see what happens. So back to your question, Amanda, because that's a great question.
Okay.
Every team has to have, well, they don't have to, but it's smart to have a third quarterback since you can technically have them available and then not take a roster spot. So what do you think we do? Do you think we go veteran or do you think we go young guy? That's kind of my.
Do we even have anyone in the building?
No, we don't have a practice squad quarterback.
I didn't think so. What are they going to get? Dugan? Like, is that his name? Dugan?
Yeah, they did bring Dugan in when they brought in that other guy from TCU.
Or come back with Ben DiNucci if he's not.
Ben DiNucci, yeah.
I mean, I'm just trying to think of people that you could bring in that have been here with somewhat familiarity with the team. That's what I'm trying to think. So I would think, I don't see us bringing in someone that's never been with the organization. So my guess would be someone that's worked with us, either worked out with us or been here. Ben DiNucci seems like the most logical thing because he's played for this team. But I really don't know. I hope we have one. Our luck, they're going to roll in there and say it's going to be Micah. I don't know. I don't trust the team to save my life.
Yeah, I was just trying to think who's from Brian Schottenheimer's coaching tree or Mike McCarthy's coaching tree who would be an available quarterback. I can't think of any.
I can't either.
I remember the last time Schottenheimer had a job, it was with, I want to say Seattle. I don't know who a Seattle quarterback would be. I don't know. Jack Meeker asking who's the guy we cut. We didn't have a third quarterback in preseason. No, we only had Rush and Lance. So DiNucci was the last quarterback I could think of on this team that's not here right now.
Too bad Joe Flacco's not available.
I know.
Man,
since you bring that up, is there a chance that they bring in a veteran to be a starter? What do you think about that?
I look at the record and think, okay, this is about it. You look around you would have to almost win the division just because certain divisions are playing so well. What division is it? The NFC North? Packers, Lions, Minnesota.
Bears, Minnesota. Yeah, all four teams are.
They're all really good. 3 of those teams are making the playoffs. I don't see a way, barring injury, of course. So and trade deadline's come and gone, so can't really even pull anyone in. I don't know what we're gonna do.
Yeah.
So I don't know if they've thought about it. You think about it, you'd think they would have already brought someone in, given today's Wednesday.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah. So Jeff, we got a couple more topics before we go to the Eagles game, but Jeff asked the question. Well, I'll save Jeff for the end because let me see what other topics I got. We talked about Dak. We talked about CD. We talked about Cooper. Yeah. So let's go ahead and go to Jeff's question, and then we'll go to Christopher Guerrero's question.
Okay.
So we'll go to Chris's first because Jeff is kind of like a good sum up question. So Christopher Guerrero asked the question, would you be good with a shuffle on the O-line? I mean, we don't have our franchise quarterback. So you're not really concerned about having the most protection around them, and we have some questions to answer at both tackle spots.
I would, and honestly, I've been pandering for this for like all season. Terrence Steele is a problem. He's a weakness, and if he's not off this team by the off season, I guess I'm going to have to drive to the Star.
If we cut him, we save $9 million next year.
We do.
Remember that.
It's a very good person. So I would move Jeff. Jeff, You're ruining it. Jeff, I would move Guyton to right tackle, and I would move Tyler Smith to left tackle, and then not Biotish, my goodness,
CJ
BB.
Bass.
No, BB's been really, really good at center.
Uh-huh.
But what I would do, because there's other more important positions we need to address from the first round, but I would go in the second round and see what player is better available. Because Martin's gone. I'm sorry. So
He's
is
gone.
it a left guard or a center that's more available? Because what I would do is I would move Cooper Beebe to his natural position at right guard. And then right guard, right? He was a right guard.
He was a left guard.
Left guard, sorry. So move him to his natural position, find a center, and then let someone fight for Zach's spot, because Zach's gone. I've never seen Zach Martin play this bad. It's really heartbreaking. He had like a grade out of a 0 one game. I've never seen that. And he's been really bad. So I would adjust the line. I'd want to see what I have. And I think the best line we have is Tyler Smith at left tackle. He's just very, very well built. And it's great to have someone who can go both left guard, left tackle. But I think that should be his position. So
I don't think they will move him, Amanda. That would, to me, that'd be the best option. I don't think it'll happen.
Well, of course not, because this is his third year. He's going into a contract year 4. He really needs to be signed this year. Left tackles make a lot more money than a left guard. So.
Exactly. You already know money talks.
Money talks.
Just following college football, last year was the center draft. It's not good this year.
Yeah.
Like Jeff said, I think Bass will be fine as a right guard. We got a lot of tackles on the roster. I would say, if anything, you use this year to see what you got in those tackles to see what we do next year. So I'm fine with moving Guyton to right tackle. That's his natural position from college.
And he's very good at
it. We should see some improvement, not only in his play, but just in that position in general. We got a Sim Richards. We got Matt Willetsko. Both of those guys were mid-round picks.
And Chuma?
We still got Chuma Doga. That's true as well. Doga might still be on IR, actually. I don't know.
Yeah, I thought he was coming up, but they nothing, no word yet.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's been pretty quiet. But yeah, Richardson and Chuma, you put one of those guys at left tackle. Let Guyton get some practice at right. If Richards can come out and get some good reps, maybe he goes in the next offseason as your tackle and bring in some competition. Or you say, you know what, we don't have anybody, and that's a key target for next year. But I have no problem switching those tackles up.
We have nothing to lose.
I wouldn't have had a problem with trading Zach Martin.
I wanted to send him to the someone said I showed it. Someone said to the Texans Houston for a second round. Yeah. Okay. Someone sign me up. We need Mike, and that's why I was really upset, which I know we're about to hit the Mingo thing. And but you're coming in, you have a new coach most likely coming in who's going to be fielding a whole new system, a whole new staff, and you give up a 4th round pick on a guy that has 12 catches this year, 54 catches in his career. And yes, while he's cheap, I just don't see him being better than a Moreno Brooks, or a Jalen Tolbert.
Ryan Flournoy.
Yeah, I don't understand. That made no sense to me. So whatever, Jerry.
Before we go to Mingo, let's go back to Jeff's question. And we're at 44 minutes. Views are still going up. The likes actually match the views right now. So let's keep those views going up, guys. If you haven't done so already, share this to your favorite Facebook group. Share it to your personal page. Let's keep the engagement going up. Let us know what you guys think about the topics we're discussing. We still have to talk Cowboys and Eagles. So we got a lot to talk about with that.
Yeah.
So last question, then we'll go to Mingo. Jeff asked, what do you feel is the best thing for us at this point? Kind of a wide array of answers that can be given here. If I told you right now, Amanda, what do we have? 7 games left, 8 games left. If you looked at the schedule and you felt like you could win 4 of those 8, putting in the best roster you could, would you rather do that, or would you rather play around with some stuff to get a better draft pick and just see what you have on your bench? Would you rather try to go for what are we now, 3-4 or
3-5?
3-5.
3-5.
So would you rather try to win 9 games and get above 500, or would you rather just see what you have and plan for next year?
So I know that Cowboys Nation isn't going to like this answer, but I would see what you have. You need to know, and people watch the Cowboys, right? So the coaches that are out there available know that this position's most likely coming up, and they want to know what you have too. So go out there and kind of play around, see what you need. Look at what you need going into next year. Look at who's on a contract. And another good thing is when you have a bad year, we have a lot of people up for money next year or playing on a contract year. So most likely we're going to have to pay less money, because I know that sounds terrible, but when you have good seasons, 3-12-5, like we just had 3-12-5 seasons back to back, you're going to be paying more money, right? It's just, you got a better team. But I'd see what we have. And if I'm correct, we only have one more win than the person who's picking, I think, third.
Yeah.
I've got to go look. Like we're right now, I think we're at 10. We're at the 10th position in the draft. So, and I think that if we can lose one more, we go to like 4. So sign me up. Lose them all. We haven't had a good draft pick since Zeke Elliott.
Yeah, I agree.
And there's some I've got a running back. I'm sorry. That's our bread and butter in this world. I want a running back. I've got a couple actually I have my eye on, and we're going to need a high draft pick to get them. So tank, baby, tank.
Okay. Yeah. I'm with you. Yeah. We got, like you said, a lot of guys on contract years, a lot of big contracts who aren't living up to it. Let's see what their backups have. Right tackle, both safeties, defensive tackle. Let's see who we have in those backups. And I mean, we're not mathematically eliminated yet, but
we're getting there.
It's going to take 10 wins to make the playoffs in the NFC this year. And we have 5 losses. So 2 more losses and we're pretty much done.
100%.
So, yeah. So yeah, that's what I would say, Jeff. Yeah. Maybe not tank the season.
I would.
Try it.
Jerry's not going to do it. That's the problem. Jerry won't do it. They're going to go out there and act like we're going to compete and really just get there. But I was about to say Ashton. That's also, yes, Ashton. I don't know how to pronounce it. Genty. That's also who I really want. He is very much, I think he would make this team better. So, I think we got to get back to schedule really football.
Quick. And then we'll talk about the trade deadline, Amanda.
So I know we can play. I know we play the Eagles. And then
we got the Eagles this week. Then we got the Texans.
Then Washington.
And then we have Washington on Thanksgiving.
And then the Giants.
And then I don't think the Giants come again that fast.
Then it's the Bengals. Then would be
the
next,
Bengals,
right? And so then there's a game between the Bengals and the Bucks. I just don't remember who it
Philly,
is.
Then we got Houston on Monday Night Football. Then we have Washington. And then we have the Giants on Thanksgiving. So that's a short week. Then we come back again to the Bengals again on Monday Night Football. Then we have Carolina. We have Tampa Bay, Philly, and Washington. So just going through that, realistically, if we have everybody available, I hate to say it, but let's just throw Philly out. Like, let's throw Philly and Houston out, honestly. So we're at the Sunday before Thanksgiving, starting with Washington. If we have Bland and Parsons and Lambs somewhat healthy, who else is hurt?
Deron Bland. So Bland, Cook,
Bland and Parsons on defense. Cook's comebacks on offense. CD's
there's Dak
somewhat healthy,
but I don't know if he's
Dak's not coming back.
I don't think so either.
Let's not even entertain that one. So our team, as healthy as we can get against Washington, the way they look right now, what do you think our chances are at Washington? Okay.
Man, look, Dan Quinn is going to wipe the floor with us. And I'm sorry. I mean, there's a chance that maybe that if the defense decides that that they want to go out there and show Dan, oh, you shouldn't have left. But I'm going to tell you something. Dan knows every player on our defense's weakness, and he is going to exploit it. And Jaden Daniels, I would have rather Caleb Williams went to Washington. When that all played out, I was very upset. We have an admin that is a big LSU fan, and he had told me enough about Jaden Daniels that I did not want Jaden Daniels in this division. He is going to give us a nightmare for years to come.
Yeah, and Jack Meeker just brought up, they just brought in a corner.
Oh, man.
Their only weakness on defense right now.
Yeah,
so
great.
Let's just assume we lose to Philly, we lose to Houston. We're at 3-7. We can't lose any more games to make the playoffs. So Washington's the first. So you're already saying we're gone. Okay.
I don't even know if we're going to beat the Giants on Thanksgiving. Heck, we might not even beat Carolina, and that says a lot. And I don't mean that hatefully. This team is not a very good football team. We are not. I know Jerry wants to try and sell people that we have pieces. Don't get me wrong. We have pieces out there, but we are just not that good a football team.
All right. Well, that takes care of that argument. So at that point, playoffs are pretty much out of the picture unless something miraculous happens and they just pull it together in the next 3 weeks.
The only thing that would be, like, I've been telling everyone, injuries have been nuts. So I can't really attest. Like, I don't remember a year that injuries have been this intense. Like, half of I'm losing every fantasy league that I play in, and I play in a lot of fantasy football leagues because I can't put a team together. I drafted some good teams too. Half of them I had to drop because I can only have so many on IR, and at that point it's like, okay, you're done for the season anyway. I'm just going to banish you into the beyond. I think we're done. I mean, I would start playing around right now, see what we have. So
yeah. All right, so let's go ahead. Last topic, then we'll look ahead to Philly. Thank you guys for your patience. Thank you guys for your questions. Thank you guys for your comments. Definitely appreciate all your support. We're going to do a giveaway before we talk about Philly game. So if you guys are still with us, stick with us for a few more minutes. The last thing we're going to talk about, the trade deadline came and left, and Jerry Jones hinted around earlier that morning that we're going to trade. We're going to trade for a receiver. And it's a receiver that we really liked.
That'll stop headlines.
And we were all kind of scratching our heads trying to figure out who this receiver could be. And lo and behold, it's Jonathan Mingo, 2nd-round pick last year for the Carolina Panthers. I can give you my thoughts because I know the player very well.
Go ahead.
I'm a Ole Miss fan. I went to Ole Miss. I follow high school football in Mississippi. His high school is one of my high school's rivals in the North half. So we played them. We played against them twice, and he was a big name in high school. So what I would say about the player, 6'2", 220. He's a freak. I'll give him that. He looks like a freak athletically. The problem is, in high school and college, he was always bigger, stronger, and faster than the cornerbacks. Even with that, he was never blinking light talent in terms of his production. They have to scheme him open. On occasion, because he was faster than certain college players, he could get behind the defense. Outside of those deep throws, it was quick hitches. It was slants. It was bubble screens. It was reverses. He's never been a talent at wide receiver as an X. And I've heard people, he played for Brandon, Mississippi, out of Jackson. So they had a pretty good team down there. He's not an X receiver. And I heard people saying, oh, he's 6'2", 220. He's going to be Dez. No. He has short arms. He does not know how to create separation. And he does not know how to catch the ball well outside of his body. Everybody who's putting highlights up, I want you to pay attention to the highlights that they're showing. See if you notice any highlight that shows him catching the ball like this, or down low, or out like this. All of them are like this, or like that. He's never catching away from his body. Brandon Perez. I made a tweet about this.
100%.
I made the exact tweet after the trade. We have a team full of inexperienced, young, cheap wide receivers who couldn't be a wide receiver 4 anywhere in the league. And what do we trade for?
The same.
Cheap, inexperienced, young wide receiver who was a number 5
on the worst team in the league.
team on the league, who had 2 rookies in front of him. They had 2 rookies in front of him, and he was the second round pick last year. Where is this optimism coming from?
Well, if y'all wanted a wide receiver next year in the draft, you just go ahead and mark that right off your wish list, okay?
Exactly.
You got Jonathan Mingo. Congratulations. It's a boy. Man, and if it's not just even, just like the knife and a little bit further in there from Jerry, he already lost us a 4th round last year with Trey Lance that has done nothing. And now you've done more of the same this year. Yep. Now, I know we have a lot of conditional picks coming in.
They're all fifths, though.
They're all fifths. Well, I think maybe. Well, what about Dorrance? Isn't Dorrance going to pull a 3rd?
No.
I was looking at his play, and it's like he's having a career year. I thought, didn't it go off some play, right? I thought.
A little bit of it's mostly based off of contract.
Okay. Well,
the only way play gets considered, it makes the pick less, because if you lose a player and they go somewhere else, and the player that you have to replace him does better than the player that you lost, your pick goes down. Their play doesn't make their pick go up.
Well, dang.
So yeah, it's based off money.
I was hopeful because he's playing, and it just makes you wonder what's wrong systematically in Dallas, because these players that come here and then leave and have better seasons, it's just amazing to me what happens. It's just like I've been saying. You can disagree. I can name several players on this team that could do what DeMarcus Ware did and leave and win a Super Bowl. Dallas Jerry's too busy catching the next headline to put a team together that will catch the ultimate headline. Mm-hmm. I say that all the time. So it's just frustrating. Yeah. And yes, Jack, it cost us our running back this year. I'm still so angry over this draft. I don't know. You could have at least got a running back, Jerry. Like, you're going to draft for somebody. And that's what, like Miles Sanders, he doesn't even like Dallas, but you could maybe make a package deal if you like this receiver so much.
He would like Dallas a lot better if he could play, because he's not playing at all in Carolina.
Well, and that's exactly, he would get some, and he's better than Mingo. Mingo's going to do the same thing we have, drop the ball. Like, that's what we already have, receivers that can't catch. What did we get? More of the dang same. And I'm just it's just frustrating. It's really frustrating, and it's hard to be a Cowboy fan right now. I will never not be a Cowboy fan, but it is very hard to be a Cowboy fan when you watch the team that you love so much get ran into the ground by someone who swears they're a football guy.
Yeah.
It's okay. You can be a business guy. It doesn't make you a football guy. Just owning a football team does not make you a football guy. Sorry.
Do you think we see Mingo this week?
No. Unless CD sits. I wouldn't.
Even if CD sits.
Why? Like, you've got people, you've got Flournoy, you've got Moreno Brooks Cropper,
who looked good in preseason.
Who looked very good in preseason. You've got players. Like, this trade makes no sense to me. And it's not like the only receiver we're losing next year is
Brandon
Cooks.
Yeah.
That's it. So why? I don't understand. You just drafted one you don't use that's your inactive. So why are you bringing in someone to do the same? I just don't understand.
Yeah. So now another question. We just brought in this receiver. Let's say he plays this week. Who's inactive? Because Flournoy has already been inactive every week except last week.
Well, you've got,
and don't forget, Zeke's playing this week. So that's another guy who's not going to be inactive.
Well, Deuce, I guess.
Deuce wasn't inactive last week either. You're right. So
Deuce.
Deuce is going to flip,
and Dak's got to be inactive because you haven't put him on IR. So that means you have to have him. And I guess that's why they opened up 2 roster spots, because they got rid of Phillips and they got rid of.
Well, I looked it up. Technically, Phillips didn't open a roster spot.
Okay.
Because they they cut him while he was on his 21-day window.
Okay.
So he was removed off IR, but you have 21 days before you have to put him on the active roster, like they did with Deron Bland.
Right.
So he wasn't taking a roster spot. He was just off the injured reserve in his 21-day window.
Well, see, so we also have to they never put Micah to IR. So you've got Micah playing this week.
Yeah.
So he's not going to be inactive.
Mm-hmm.
Deron's supposed to play this week. So what are you going to do? You brought a guy who can't even fit on the roster right now.
Right, exactly.
Like, because Lawson, if something happens to that ankle of Micah, you can't make him inactive. He's got to be there to come in for Micah.
Yeah.
Like, because I think you're rushing him back too, and some weird hope that he's going to come in and be the savior.
Yeah.
Like, I like Micah, but Micah needs a team around him too. Micah is the Dak Prescott of the defense. And I like Dak. I like Micah, but I'm just saying it takes more than one player on both sides of the ball. So,
yeah.
And Zeke playing at someone find me some video. We can split the money. Let's send it to Stacy. Okay.
Sorry. No matter what you send them, it won't make a difference.
Still don't work.
We'll talk about this, then we'll move on to Philly. Somebody made a comment earlier about we don't have good running back play. Go look at Rico Dowdle's statistics. Outside of week 1, he's averaged 4.3 yards a carry every game he's played, whether he got 6 carries or 20 carries. And he's giving you 4 receptions a game. He's not setting the world on fire, but that's capable running back production. The problem is
I think it would be better with a better line. I think Rico would have better success with a better line. So,
yeah. I mean, Rico has his problems. He does not read gaps well.
No.
At all. He could have even more yards if his vision was better. But despite that, he's still getting 4.3 yards a carry. He's still active in the receiving game. Give him 15 carries a game until he proves otherwise. Stop doing this 10, 8, and 8 crap with lesser running backs.
Yeah, I don't understand like this running back by committee thing. We've seen it around the league. It's not very I'm trying to think of a team that I could give credit to. Running back committee works.
It was Atlanta, but their offensive line is just.
Well, I was actually going to say Seattle. Seattle has been with Charbonnet and Charbonnet and Kenneth Walker. They're pretty good, but their offensive line's also pretty good.
Yeah.
Your running back is only as good as your offensive line. And right now anyone's going to struggle. But when you look at the production out of the backs that we are using behind this line, because that's obviously not going to change until the offseason.
Yeah.
Rico's your better option. I don't know if it's like some weird love affair with Zeke. And then to find out that he's not even been showing up to meetings and everything. I'm sorry. If I just stopped showing up to work until I wanted to, I wouldn't have a job anymore.
Yeah.
Like late to all your meetings. I mean, come on. Like, why is he still here? Dak's most likely done for the year. Okay. The friendship's gone. Bye. Like, I don't understand that. I don't know why we're holding on to this. Everyone was so happy. I think that was just to shut you up in the offseason move, bringing back Zeke. But we let Zeke go for a reason, guys.
Yeah. And nobody else picked him up for a reason.
That's correct.
Because he was a free agent. He could have gone anywhere. In a very deep running back, a very deep offseason where about 8 teams needed running backs.
Yeah.
And he had to come back here.
And there were so many running backs available, and we just watched them all go somewhere else. So
Jeff asked the question, do you think McClay signed off on the trade? I personally don't think McClay is as involved with trades.
Think so.
I think he's the draft guy.
I think he's the acquiring talent guy during off season. That's what I think of. So
yeah, I don't think he has much involvement in regular season trades.
No. That's all Jerry.
Yeah. All right, guys, we're at hour 4 minutes. We're still gonna talk Cowboys, Eagles, regardless of how we feel the outcome may be. So thank you guys for sticking with us. Those likes are still going up. Those views are still going up. Got a lot of people watching from Twitter and Facebook Dallas Cowboys page. So thank you guys for joining us. Make sure you continue to share the podcast. Also, continue to like and Make sure you guys subscribe at the end of the show. So, Amanda, we're going to do our first giveaway now.
Okay.
Have you thought of a trivia question, or should I go back to the old method of the randomizer?
Oh, man. Hold on. I have one. I just forgot to type it and send it to you.
Okay. All right. So while Amanda comes up with the trivia question, I will remind you guys that we do have a few rules when it comes to trivia questions. So in order to win a prize, we do ask first that you contact Amanda within 72 hours to let her know your address. If not, we will be giving the prize away next week. We do ask that you are a Cowboys fan because we don't want to give out Cowboys paraphernalia to other teams' fan bases. We also ask that you follow us on Facebook and YouTube at DC4L as well as Bluff City Cowboys. And then we haven't had this problem in a while, but you have to give Facebook permission. But we can see everyone's name, so don't worry about that. Just get ready. We give the prize away by the first person who comments the correct answer to the question. I see Amanda still looking. How are you coming along with that question, Amanda?
I'm almost there.
Okay.
Is that true? Hold on. I'm going to send you this because I don't know if it's. I want you to tell me.
Okay. So Marco Esther says CD more than likely not going to play. Based off of the interviews that CD did today, Marco, it sounds like CD's playing no matter what this week. I would be shocked if Micah didn't play. He's a Philly kid. Missed a bunch of games. That game always means something kind of special to him. So I think we're going to have both of those guys present this week. So I'm looking forward to seeing, seriously, how this team rebounds this week. And I know we're going to talk about that in a minute, but you lose Dak, CD's banged up, you're playing your biggest rival. How does the team react? Do they rally around Cooper Rush, try to go out with some pride, or do they just completely crumble? Curious to see how that works.
Okay, I found one.
Okay. All right, so while Amanda types that up, once again, thank you guys for watching tonight. Definitely appreciate all you guys' support. You guys have really been bringing it in the comments tonight. We are about to talk Cowboys and Eagles right now, so we ask that you continue to keep that engagement up as we go through a couple of topics. For the people joining us for the first time, we have a couple of segments that we go through. So first of all, we start off with what we feel are the key matchups in this week's game. And then from there, we'll talk about some of the X factors. This will be some of the guys who aren't the household names who we think will have a major impact in the outcome of the game. And then we close it out with some over-unders where I will give you some player statistics and you tell me whether or not that player goes over or under that stat. Is that the correct wording for that question?
That's the way it says it. I mean, if you want to verify real quick, I can sit here. Look, guys. So I kind of spring prizes on Marcus sometimes. So you'll have to forgive me. It's all my fault. But if I believe that's what it says, but also I don't trust the internet sometimes. So that's what it says though, because that person, yeah, that's what it says. I don't want to give it away. So Jack, I really hope we get Blandon Diggs. Like that's something I've been looking forward to it. We got it a little bit last year before Diggs went down with that ACL injury. I think it's a little too far gone. I find it very interesting that they haven't started Duran yet. That makes me very cautious on how healed he truly is. We'll see. Foot injuries are very, very particular, and I'm very concerned that there is a chance that they are also rushing him back. So, and he's on a contract year, so it wouldn't really surprise me for them to rush him back. But he's in year 3 looking for money. So, did you find it, Marcus?
I could not find that question or that answer.
Okay, do it the old way, and I'll find a better one.
Okay.
I'll find one for the end of the show. Just do it the old way for now so we can keep moving. I don't want to keep people too long.
All right. I got a trivia question.
Okay.
I think it's pretty easy though. But
go for it.
All right. Give me 1 second, guys. I'm about to do our first trivia question. And this one is Philadelphia Eagle related.
Oh, good one.
All right. So I just Googled this question. So the first person who gets the correct answer will win the prize. Amanda, tell the people what the prize will be this week.
Okay, so this is a metal. It's a really nice metal sign that I will get out and send to you, safely protected, and I'll get it out this week. But it's a really, really nice sign. I don't remember exactly what it says on it, and I'll probably stick a couple other smaller things in there. So the main prize is a really nice cowboy sign for your man cave, your living room, wherever you want to put it. And then smaller things in there as a little bonus for watching the show.
Okay. Let me just Google one more time to make sure the answer's right.
Huh?
I'm almost sure it's right when I saw it. Okay. So, trivia question for this week. Who is the only player to ever make a Pro Bowl playing for both the Eagles and the Cowboys? That is the trivia question for this week to win a prize. Who is the only player to make a Pro Bowl playing for both the Eagles and the Cowboys? Let's see who we got in the comments. Tim Estabrook immediately with Terrell Owens.
That's who I was going to say too. So
that's the correct answer. Terrell Owens. Justin J. Rowland, you were a second late. So be sure to join us to the end of the show when we come up with a second trivia question. Maybe you can get that one. So Tim Estabrook, make sure you contact Amanda Foster. Give me your contact info. She'll send
I'm commenting right now. So just message the DC4L page is probably the easiest way. It just popped up in there. So you'll be able to message that page and I will get it.
Yeah. Randall Cunningham didn't make a Pro Bowl with the Cowboys. He did play for the Cowboys. Same for Jason Peters. He made a Pro Bowl with the Eagles, not with the Cowboys. All right, guys. So let's keep the show moving along. We're at an hour, 13 minutes. We're not going to hold you too long. We go through our topics pretty quickly. So we'll start off first with some first with some of our key matchups for this week's game against the Philadelphia Eagles.
Key matchups.
All right, so let's go to first key matchup. This one's kind of going to be one of the lesser known ones, but I think it's going to be really good. So Carl Lawson coming off a 2-sack game, going against backup left tackle Fred Johnson. The Eagles lost their starting left tackle out for the year.
Yeah.
And Fred Johnson is the backup playing his second game with the Eagles. Carl Lawson, we were kind of concerned about in the first couple of weeks. Looks like he's gotten his footing now, and now he gets a matchup against a backup tackle. So I think this is going to be a key matchup to see if Carl Lawson can win this matchup and get Jalen Hurts on the ground.
Fred's played okay. He's not been great, but he filled in, what was it, last week that the left tackle went down? So he stepped in and did what he needed to do.
Yeah.
I think that one thing that's been great about Philly is their ability to alternate on that line. So we'll see. I think I'd like to see Carl get a few sacks, but I think Jalen's also too elusive. So we'll see. We'll see.
All right, so we'll stay on the defensive side of the ball, go to our next key matchup. And if you guys have any key matchups... You didn't mute.
Oh, I'm so sorry, y'all. I thought I muted.
Happened. So yeah, we'll go to our next key matchup. Still not muted, Amanda. Next key matchup will be Trayvon Diggs versus Devonta Smith. Now it looks like AJ Brown will play this week. There was some thoughts that he may be out with the knee injury, but he was active in practice this week. They don't switch sides much in Philly. So Trayvon Diggs and Devonta Smith are normally lined up against each other. And if you guys are familiar with their history, two Alabama guys, and Diggs has pretty much gotten the best of Devonta every time they played. So this is definitely going to be a key matchup to pay attention to. Diggs always kind of prides himself on knowing Devonta's tendencies and jumping the routes. So let's see if Trayvon Diggs, who's coming off a calf injury, let's see if that calf can hold up and if he can possibly create some turnovers again this week. We got Johnny Dan joining us again from Hereford, Texas. Thank you for joining us, Johnny Dan. I always appreciate you tuning in. Jeff saying Diggs versus Brown. But again, Brown and Smith don't change size much. So Diggs doesn't follow receivers. So it's going to be pretty much Diggs versus Smith. If you remember last time they played, Diggs never faced up against Brown. So yeah, this is going to be a big matchup to pay attention to. Jack Meeker says if Parsons and Lawson are rushing and Demo is chasing, we will get him a lot. As you guys know, even though I do disagree with it, Micah always likes to line up against the best tackles. So that's why I put Carl Lawson against Fred Johnson, because if Micah plays, even though he's coming off an injury, he always goes up against Lane Johnson. I don't like it. I wish they would force him to take the better matchups. Maybe Mike Zimmer will do that this week, but until we see otherwise, we just got to assume he's going to go against Lane Johnson. All right, we got Chris Hennigan, Night Owl Cowboy, joining us. A great podcast. So thank you for joining us tonight. Feel free to leave any questions or comments that you may have about this week's matchup. We're going to keep it on the defensive side of the ball, and then we'll go over to the offense. Got one more defensive matchup that I think is going to be really good in this game, and this one is Osa versus Mekhi Becton. Now, I don't know if you guys are familiar with Mekhi Becton, but he is a massive offensive tackle, former first-round pick for the New York Jets. He pretty much ate himself out of the organization. He's 6'7". When he came into the league, he was like 340. I think right now he's closer to 370. But the Eagles moved him to guard. And as a guard, he has been, I think, a top 10 PFF guard in terms of run blocking. But going back to the Jets and the amount of weight he's put on, I think he's like bottom half of the league in terms of pass rush. So you got the big, stiff, but powerful Becton going against the smaller, more elusive, better with leverage Osa. So I think Osa is gonna have some opportunities to get some pressure in the pass rush game against Mekhi Becton. So if there's any pressure to be had, if Micah doesn't play, I think Osa's gonna give us our best shot to get it this year. All right, Amanda, I see you just came back. Any thoughts about these defensive matchups with Osa, Carl Lawson, or Trayvon Diggs versus Devonta Smith?
First, I want to apologize. I really thought I'd muted my mic. I'm so sorry. I have 3 kids, y'all, and my house is absolutely crazy sometimes. And my husband was calling my son, and there's a very large gap between the two rooms. So I'm so sorry in advance that I had to scream. I did not mean to do that to y'all. I will give Marcus extra prizes for next week's show so he can really like blow it up. That is so embarrassing. But on the defensive side of the ball, I'm really excited to see Micah return if he's ready to return. If he's ready. I'm actually more concerned about stopping the run, and I'm worried about how Mozzie is going to. I don't know if we've gotten there yet. I'm really worried about how Mozzie Smith's going to do because we are very weak in the interior of our defensive line. And when I think about the strength of Philly, it's the run game, and I'm really concerned about that. I think we're going to be fine with Duron and Trevon coming back, and Jordan Lewis has been phenomenal this season. But that's my biggest concern is honestly, I'm excited for those matchups, but those aren't the ones that worry me. Those aren't the keys, in my opinion, to stopping their offense.
So you think Mozzie versus who's there?
Lane Johnson?
No, the defensive tackle. You said Mozzie, so that'd be Landon Dickerson, the guard, or Cam Jurgensen, the center. You think that's the bigger matchup with Mozzie? Yes. Okay. I mean, I can't disagree with that because, like you said, they pride themselves on running the ball. They got Saquon Barkley, and if there's any team who can have explosive runs,
yes, I think there's a possibility that Saquon has a record-breaking game against us.
Oh my goodness, Amanda.
I know. I look back at that week 1 game with Saquon getting 3 touchdowns in one game when his first game with the Eagles. And I'm very concerned that this could be a repeat. I look at the way we've played at home this season. I look at how banged up we are injury wise. And I really think that we're in trouble. So
you think Saquon has a better game than he had against the Giants?
Yes.
Let me just look up Bijan Robinson because I think Bijan Robinson is kind of a poor man, Saquon Barkley. Let me look at his stats from last week. So last week, Bijan Robinson had 19 carries, 86 yards, 4.5 yards a carry. Then he also had 7 catches for 59 yards.
Yeah.
So you think Saquon pretty much dwarfs both of those stats? So
I think he has 8 catches for 85 yards.
That would be great for my fantasy team, by the way.
I also have Saquon in fantasy football, but I think 8 for 80 on receptions, and then I'm going to go 175 yards rushing.
Wow. Yeah. So we'll save that for over under. You guys can leave your comments about it when we get to the end of the show.
It's just that I just don't think that we're ready, and I think that the team maybe won't come in with the right spirit. Yeah. I mean, that's a lot of CD, Dak. You lose your 2, fundamental pieces. That's what I think. And you laugh, but I mean, look at what he just did to the Giants. It's extremely possible. I mean, Henry had a massive game against us. Yeah. That's what concerns me. And I think they're going to run a lot knowing it's our weakness. One thing Sirianni does is attack the weakness of the opposing team. I don't like Nick Sirianni, but that is something that he's very good at. And I think that he's going to very much run the ball all over us.
Yeah. So Tootie, Winder, the defense really need to play good to win this weekend. We got to get takeaways. We can't kill ourselves with penalties and stop the run bad. Yeah. Let's hope those defensive tackles can hold up. He also says the Cowboys are going to have to run the ball. So I think it's some good in rush. So since you bring that up, let's go to our other key matchups on the offensive side of the ball. You bring up running the ball. I think this matchup is going to be key in this game. And that is Cooper Beebe versus Jalen Carter. So when I watch the Eagles play, they have a massive front four. So they have Milton Williams, who's like 320. They have Jalen Carter, who's like 320. And then they have what's the big kid from Georgia? Jordan Davis, who's 340.
Yes.
So they have some massive defensive tackles, and they rotate those guys in between playing defensive end because they're all athletic. But one thing I do notice, Jalen Carter is by far the most explosive of the three, and they always line him up in the A gap to try to take advantage of centers. So Cooper Beebe is going to see a lot of Jalen Carter this game, and he's been doing good against the pass. I'm talking about Jalen Carter. He's been doing good against the pass, but he's really been showing his explosiveness, blowing up running lanes. So this one's definitely going to be important in terms of the Cowboys running the football.
Do you think we're able to run the ball against Philly? Because that's what we'll have to lean into.
I think Jeff said, all guys we should have drafted. We had a chance. Milton Williams was a 3rd-round pick from Louisiana Tech. I remember the player very well. I thought there's no chance Dallas doesn't draft him. That was what year was that? I want to say 2021. So who was our 3rd-round pick 2021?
That was Micah 1st round.
That was Micah. Was that Connor McGovern?
I believe so. Was it?
But I'm going off on a tangent here. But it was Cowboys 20. Now that's gonna bother me, so I have to look it up.
It's Osa. It was Osa Odigizua.
And Chauncey Golston.
75 and Chauncey at pick 84. And then at 99, Nashawn Wright. Let
me just look. I gotta look now to see where Milton Williams was drafted. I know it was 3rd round, but I want to see what pick. Okay, he was picked 73, so he was before Osa and Golston. But I really like that player. Extremely talented guy. But yeah, this is going to be a good matchup between Jalen Carter and Cooper Beebe. This is probably going to be his biggest test. We've played some good teams, but we haven't played any explosive defensive tackles. They've all kind of been just journeyman type guys when you look at the defensive tackle position, particularly the nose tackles. So this is going to be a week where Cooper Beebe seeing a 1st-round talent at defensive tackle who's going to line up right in front of him. Jack Meeker saying Beebe needs to anchor. He can handle Carter. Having Smith at guard will help too. Well, watching the Eagles play, they try to isolate Carter against centers. So I don't know how much help Tyler Smith's going to be able to provide him the way they try to scheme one-on-one matchups for Carter. That's why I have it as such a big key matchup.
They're really good. They scheme. I love and I can't stand Philly, but I am always very impressed with how, they have injuries they overcome. They scheme to fit who they're playing, and they scheme to make their players better. I'm always really impressed, like how they always scheme. I don't know what it is about AJ Brown, but I swear he's open all the dang time. Like I know it's just the play calling and his ability to play well. I know that, but it's always impressive. I like watching football in general to see other teams planning, and the Eagles are one of the better planning teams in the league.
But yeah, going back to what we started the show off with, if you watch how the Eagles run their scheme, AJ Brown runs a lot of slants. He runs a lot of comebacks. He runs a lot of outs. There's not a lot of deep balls downfield. You got a big physical wide receiver who can catch the ball and make something happen after the catch. Get the ball in his hands quickly. Let him use his physicality against corners. We just don't seem to do it. Well, we don't have the guys to do it, but we don't seem to do it either.
Man, I love that some of y'all are so optimistic. It really is nice to see. It really, really is nice to see y'all optimistic about this.
Johnny Dan saying we're going to have to open up the passing game. Not sure we can run on them. Now, one thing I will say about the Eagles, I'm not falling for this hype that they're trying to hype up Nakobe Dean and whoever the other top linebackers are. Their linebackers aren't that good. If you can get past the front four, you can run the ball on the Eagles. So the question is, can Cooper Beebe hold up and prevent Jalen Carter from blowing up plays? Because if they can get past the front four, I can definitely see some more explosive runs being had this week, because their linebackers are just as bad as our linebackers when it comes to gap integrity and reading running lanes. Jeff says, I think we'll do better attacking the Eagles secondary. Carl Parker, ultimate optimist. Going back to Jeff's comment, we'll go to my next key matchup. And this one is not Darius Slay, surprisingly. When I watched Cooper DeJean, the rookie corner, missed the first 3 weeks with a hamstring injury. Big surprise, hamstring injury. He's been the starting nickel for the past 4 weeks. And before I do the show, I try to watch the last 3 to 4 games. The kid has looked really, really good in the slot to a point where they don't even move Slay to the slot anymore, regardless of who the matchup is against. So CeeDee Lamb's going to be seeing a lot of this rookie. He's quick. He doesn't have a lot of lateral movement to me, but he's a great back pedal, plant that back foot and explode type corner. So if you run a lot of comebacks and outs, he's gonna jump them. Now, if we get CeeDee downfield a little bit, I don't know how he's gonna hold up. But if it's a typical slide on nickel matchup, Cooper DeJean is more than capable of having a good day against CeeDee Lamb. And if all else fails, they can always bring Slay on the inside. But DeJean has pretty much been that guy for them in the slot since he's been healthy. And also add to that, like Jeff said, CD's dealing with an injury. And our last looks at CD, they weren't promising. So it's not like we're getting a CD who's going to be at 100% or who may not be favoring that shoulder when he's trying to go out for a catch. And he doesn't have his normal quarterback either. So a lot of things working in Cooper DeJean's favor in this matchup, but I think it's definitely going to be a key one because I don't think we have any other proven weapons right now. Yeah. Steve Franco, thank you for joining us. We're at 1 hour 32 minutes. We're already at key matchups, so we'll go to our next segment. And guys, Steve Franco says it's not a promising game, but I hate the Sheagles. We all do. And
we do.
It's going to be a tough game to watch on Sunday. I'll just leave it at that.
I am really not looking forward to watching this game.
I'm not either. Because their coach is a D-bag. And if he smells blood in the water, he's going to try to embarrass us.
Well, it ain't taking much to do it at home this season. Yeah. So, and the Eagles haven't really ever put it down on us since Dak's been here. When you look, when Dak's playing, Dak's really owned the East. I think they're really going to take the opportunity to now with Cooper. Well, Cooper, that's who gave Cooper his first loss. Cooper threw 3 interceptions. That was the year they went to the Super Bowl. And we had a much better team. So I don't know what I think I'm going to experience on Sunday. Uh-huh. But I'm trying to look at it. You know what? Maybe something will happen. You never know. Sometimes things crazy happen.
Yeah,
Philly could have an off game. The team could come out there and want to hush some people's mouths. We'll see.
Now, I have one more key matchup. I don't have a screen for it, but I want to get your thought, and I want to get you guys' thoughts on it. So my last key matchup is Kellen Moore versus Mike Zimmer. So you've got the young, relatively inexperienced offensive coordinator going against the seasoned NFL veteran coordinator. And 2 questions, and this is for everybody in the comments. Let me know your thoughts. Question number 1. Who do you think has the advantage? The offensive coordinator who's going against the old team, or the old team going against the coordinator? Because the team knows the scheme, but the coordinator knows the weaknesses of the personnel? Which one do you think is a bigger advantage? Let me know what you guys think in the comments.
Okay, personally, I want to touch on that.
Okay.
Kellen, for some reason, we always complained when Kellen was here that he wouldn't run the ball. He would abandon the run. He wanted to be very showy, very flashy, very in your face, run up the scoreboard. That was Kellen's bread and butter here.
Mm-hmm.
He went to LA, and of course, coach got fired, so he ended up needing a new job. And in Philly, he has really utilized Saquon in a way that he never utilized a Zeke or a Tony.
Yeah.
And I find it very interesting, and it makes you wonder. It just makes me wonder who's really pulling the strings on the way this football team is coached.
Mm-hmm.
I think Kellen has the advantage coming into this game. Now, granted, our scheme is different, but it's not even as good as it was when Kellen was here.
Yeah.
And then you look at Zimmer. Zimmer wasn't here with Kellen.
Right.
So he knows what's going on. The players can tell him. So maybe the players can kind of fill him in a little bit. But I think Kellen has changed enough of what he does that Kellen's going to have the upper hand.
Okay. All right. Everybody else pretty much agreeing with you. OC against the old team. Jeff says Moore definitely has the advantage. Kellen does. He has better players for starters. Carl Parker saying old coordinator. Chris Hennigan saying Mike McCarthy. Well, the question was the offensive coordinator or the team. And like Jeff said, the personnel on it is the same. He saw these guys every week in practice, so he knows tendencies. Yep. He knows who's good at certain things. Somebody can't go left. Somebody bites on double moves often. Little games within the game that a coordinator would know that other teams may not be able to see on tape.
Someone plays very soft coverage and comes out screaming at reporters who report on it.
And afraid to make a tackle if a player runs head on at them.
And I think Kellen has a point to prove too, because we let go of him and he kind of took a lot of that blame for those losses. I think Kellen has a lot to prove too. So I think he's going to come in and really put on a good game.
Yeah.
That or maybe Jerry pays him enough money that he bombs it. Wishful thinking.
Stephen Franco says Moore going to show the mistake that has been made since he left Cowboys is his revenge game. That was actually my second question.
Yeah.
Do you think this is going to be a revenge game for Kellen Moore, and they try to run the scoreboard up or do kind of like what Dan Campbell did and just bring out a bunch of
funny
exotic plays when you don't have to?
So I want to say that I don't think it was the wrong decision getting rid of Kellen Moore. I do not. I think he is good, but I think that, and I think that's proven by looking at how well Dak played last year. You got to remember that was technically Dak took Kellen's job because Kellen got hurt. Kellen was Tony's backup. Dak was going to be the practice squad guy. Kellen was hurt, so Dak ended up in. Kellen never got his job back. But I don't think it was the wrong decision getting rid of him. I do think it's a revenge game. But I think Kellen's going to be a phenomenal coach one day. He just needs to get more skills under his belt. So,
yeah. And that's one of the things I was curious about when he went to the Eagles, because when he went to the Chargers, we all kind of knew that was a rental signing, because we all knew, kind of like Mike McCarthy was on his way out. We knew the Chargers coach was on his way out, and Kellen Moore wasn't ready to be a head coach just yet, so he was just kind of a stopgap type guy. So when he went to the Eagles, I was curious to see what type of offensive staff he builds, because the best way to become a head coach is only as good as the staff that's around him.
Okay.
So you got to pay attention to who, because he's never had his own staff before. It's always been whoever Jerry assigned to him. So now,
so question.
Yeah.
Okay, real quick before I forget.
Okay.
Next year, new coach. Is Kellen Moore a candidate for the Cowboys head coaching position?
Yes.
I think so too.
Definitely.
We all want young people. That'll probably be the one Jerry goes after, not like a Ben Johnson. He'll go after and bring back Kellen Moore.
If he was smart, it would be anybody whose last name is McVay or Shanahan or Kubiak or anybody from their coaching
that tree.
staff.
Yeah, someone
Anybody.
from the coaching tree.
Yeah. But if people say they want to get a young hotshot coordinator, he's not going to go to the tree. He's going to go to Kellen Moore. It's going to be that or some old coach who had a big name 10 years ago.
Like
Bill Belichick.
You mean like Bill Belichick, who hasn't done anything without Tom Brady, but because he won a lot of Super Bowls and people are pandering for him, thinking that, like, y'all, I don't understand that either. So,
yeah.
But yeah, I'd rather have Kellen over Bill. I really want Ben Johnson. That is my wish list head coach. I just don't know if you can convince him to leave Detroit, because Detroit loves him. And the problem is it's hard to get a coach to come here because everyone knows Jerry's in charge. It doesn't matter what your title is. Jerry's hands are in it. So.
Yep. Yeah. I want there's a Kubiak at Houston, I think. I would like to get him, who I don't know who it is, whoever's the passing game coordinator for the Rams or the Niners, because that's where all these guys come from to get coaching jobs. Whoever that is, I don't care what his name is. Google whoever the passing coordinator is for the Rams or the Niners. That's a guy I want as a candidate. And like you said, Ben Johnson, Jim Bob Cooter, anybody Shanahan, McVay, or Kubiak last name. I'll take any of them. I don't think it'll be Marvin Lewis.
Kubiak is the offensive passing game specialist for the San Francisco 49ers.
Okay. So he's the pass game coordinator and he's a Kubiak. He meets both of my criteria. That's number one on my list. Whoever that guy is, I don't care what his resume says.
He said, "I'm taking him." And then there's Aubrey Pleasant is the pass game coordinator for the Rams.
Okay.
And he's been with Sean McVay, and then he was with the Commanders.
Okay. So he's followed McVay from a long time ago then.
Yeah, it says Aubrey Pleasant is the pass game coordinator and assistant head coach for the Rams. He's worked for the Rams twice, first as the cornerbacks coach from 2017 to 2020, and then again in 2024 as the pass game coordinator and defensive backs head coach. He also worked with Sean McVay on the Washington Commanders staff from 2013 to 2016.
Okay. That's interesting that the DB coach is the pass game coordinator.
That is weird, isn't it?
That's kind of weird. I would hang my hat on Kubiak though. Yeah, Kubiak, that's a pass game coordinator. Yeah.
What about Cliff Kingsbury? Anything on that? I see people talking about that too. So
I don't think he would leave. He had his shot with the Cardinals. That blew up in his face. Well, I think he would wait 2 or 3 years before he took a head coaching job again.
I think it's important to think that some coaches just they're not cut out to be head coaches.
Yeah.
And that they are very good positional wise. That's something that I look at, and people talk about, just because you can't be a head coach doesn't make you a successful coach.
Mm-hmm.
Like, honestly, people talk about Al Harris. Yeah. Like, I'd love to see Al promoted. Do I think Al could be a defensive coordinator? I do not know. Would I take a chance on it at this point? Fire Zimmer. Let's see what he has as the interim, and let's, just roll with it and test it out. But we got a bunch of big changes to make in the off season. It is going to be a very, very tumultuous, off season for sure in 2025.
So,
and no, Derek, he's not. Dak's not leaving Dallas. We're talking about coaches.
Yeah, we're just talking about key matchups right now. Kilo, and I just asked a question about Kellen Moore, and it just kind of took us down a different, a good conversation. Just took us down a different path.
More off-season stuff we shouldn't focus on right now. We give good topics for the off-season.
Chris Hannigan, I don't think it'd be Marvin Lewis for a bunch of reasons I don't want to say online. Steven Franco, I don't expect anything because Jerry. I mean, we ball in and not getting anyone. I'm actually at this point, I'm afraid. I'm not afraid. I don't think Bill Belichick will take the job.
I would hope not.
Because I think he needs 29 wins to be the all-time leader. And if you're taking a realistic look at the team right now,
it's a rebuild.
Dak's coming off an injury. You don't know if he's going to be available next year. You probably got out of 22 starters, probably 9 or 10 are going to be free agents. You're going to deal with the contract controversy with your best defensive player.
Yeah. Deron Bland's due a contract. Jake Ferguson. Half the team is ready to get paid. Yeah. Turpin's on the way out. Brandon Aubrey. Right. Brandon Aubrey just signed a contract with Todd France to be his agent, which just negotiated some of the highest paid players in the league. And there is no argument that he will be the highest paid kicker. So go ahead and start with Butker's money and go on up because Aubrey's the better kicker. So we're in a really rough place. Belichick don't want to rebuild a team. He wants somewhere he can come in, hang his hat, and be done.
Right. He wants to stockpile those wins quickly.
Yeah.
And get out of here. I mean, and even if you don't look at the team, look at the division. I mean, Washington is kind of at the head of the class right now, and they're only getting better because they're going to have a ton of cap space next year, and they've already got their quarterback and their wide receiver, and their running back and an improved offensive line. So they're going to have their choice. They'll probably have T. Higgins next year.
Yeah.
To pair with McLaurin. We can't touch that. The Eagles aren't going anywhere. The Giants are going to get a better quarterback. Their offensive line is really good in New York. Yeah. Nobody's talking about that. This kid, Tracy.
Their bad record, but Tracy,
Tracy's showing you that offensive line is good, that a converted wide receiver is averaging 90 yards a game. Yeah. They got the receiver. Neighbors is a monster. They're a quarterback away from being what Washington is now. Yeah. And that's the division we're dealing with right now.
Steven, he's on the hot seat right now, hun. He has no contract next year. This is it. This is Mike's. The only thing I could see Jerry being Jerry. Okay, we're going to give you another year just because you had a bad team last year. Sounds about right for our luck, but I don't even think playoffs are. I said it at the beginning of the season before we even played a game. I didn't think we were making the playoffs. Now I'm just like, okay, let's get to the draft.
Pretty much, yeah. Chris Hennigan asked who the OC was from Mississippi State. That was Dan Mullen, former Florida coach. The problem with that is Dak can't run that offense anymore because that requires mobile Dak, and we don't have mobile Dak anymore.
You got to remember, Dak's ankles held together with pins and screws, and now he's going to have a reconstructed hamstring. Hamstring. I can't talk tonight. It's late and I'm tired. I was up late last night. So.
All right. Jeff says get Romo out of the booth. Romo's making what, $12 million a year?
Yeah, it's the same thing. It's the same thing with Troy Aikman. These guys are making way too much money for very little stress. Like they have a picnic. It's like a picnic they're going on every day to work. So you got to look at people that are realistic. And I just thinking about Troy, and like I could see a Jason Witten, but I don't think he'll leave until his sons are both out of high school. Mm-hmm. And one's leaving this year. He's already committed. And the other one, I think, is a sophomore. So that's another 2 years away. But
okay. I see your question, William Wiggins. I'm just going through the comments really quick. We said this earlier in the show, Stephen Franco. Dak. I don't think Dak's healthy enough to play the rest of the year. We both kind of agree with that.
He has a bone, Steven. His hamstring is torn off the bone. Like that came out today. He's done. There's no fixing that. He's getting a second opinion. Yeah. I think at this time it's just he's just doing like a little homework. He ain't playing. He's done.
Yeah. I think the only second opinion he can get is should he let it, like you said, heal and scar over,
right?
Or just go ahead and have the surgery now.
So that's the best. And I've read that's better for a player, especially someone that does physical work. So the injury he got, it's very important. Dak needs to let that heal and be very, very ginger with it and let it get some scar tissue so they can go in and reconstruct it. Yeah. That's the better option. That's the recommended option. But I have a feeling that Dak just doesn't want to do that and is just seeing what it is. So,
yeah. So William Wiggins, and then we'll move on the show. Ask the question, Ashton Gentry. We talked about this earlier in the show. Do we have a chance? I just don't. What was Bijan Robinson drafted last 2 years ago? Let me see.
6?
Was it 4? Was it that high?
I want to say it was 4th or 5th, I thought,
Let me
but
see.
it could be wrong.
Bijan Robinson was drafted 8. He was drafted at 8.
Wow. I
thought it was about 6, yeah. So I don't think Genty is just natural attributes as good as Bijan Robinson. The stats will probably look better because he's at Boise State, but in terms of production plus height, weight, speed, I don't think he's Bijan Robinson. So 8 is his floor to me. So I think right now we're at what, 10?
10 or 11.
10 or 11. I think he's in play. I think he's definitely in play at 10 or 11 at a running back. And plus, I talked about this all last offseason. All the teams that needed running backs have pretty much filled their roster with running backs. And if they don't have one free agent, they drafted one. Yeah. So Blake Corum's still on somebody's bench. Aldrick Estime still on somebody's bench. Jonathan Brooks is still on somebody's bench.
Jalen Wright.
Jalen Wright still on somebody's bench. Who's the running back with Arizona?
That's James Conner and
the backup, the kid from Florida State, Trey Benson.
Yeah.
Trey Benson's still on somebody's bench. So there's not a lot of teams that need running backs. If we're picking top 10, it's not going to be a lot of people who are going to try to leapfrog us to try to get them.
Right. And do you think I look at that's my 2 glaring needs. We got to replace Mozzie because he's not it.
Uh-huh.
So, I think
I love the D tackle from Kentucky. I do.
Love him. And I think we could potentially pull him with a high enough draft pick. So that would mean you would need to either trade back up into the second, but we have too many holes. And we need a running back. So I look at the team. I know we'll discuss this later, but so running back, defensive tackle, another wide receiver, even though we just pulled Mingo, so I guess that's off my wish list.
You said it earlier, Amanda. Yeah, you could scratch receiver off the
ridiculous. Jason Curtis, we do not have a running back. I'm sorry, I don't know what you're talking. Like Rico was on a 1-year. He was a restricted free agent. Zeke's on a 1-year deal. Deuce Vaughn is not a running. Deuce is a nepotism pick. And I don't know what else. There's no one else. We needed a running back this year and we didn't get it. I don't disagree. The line's bad, but no one. We don't have a running back. Like there is no good running back. Rico is a great change of pace. Number 2, we need a power back and we don't have one. So
off-season talk.
Yeah.
There's a lot of running backs I like in this draft that'll be available in the second round.
I hope we just replace Mozzie because that was just another loss from Michigan, but we'll get there. So,
the running back from Arkansas, the running back from Notre Dame, the running back from Ole Miss, both running backs from Ohio State. Of those 5, if I can't get Genty in the first, I'll take any of those 5, especially the 2 from Ohio State and the one from Arkansas. Those guys have special qualities.
Yeah.
Genty's just on another level right now. I think it's because of competition.
It could be.
But those other running backs, to me, height, weight, speed, are just as talented.
Well, hopefully Jerry hears our cries because he didn't this year and messed that up. So we'll see. We'll do a full draft show. So, but it's just,
Yeah. All right.
You want to do some over-unders and get out of here at 2 hours?
Okay, yeah. Marco, he's on the last year of his contract. He doesn't have to get fired.
Yeah, you ain't got to fire him. I want them to fire him tomorrow, but that's obviously not going
not
to
at
happen.
All right, let's I got a couple of X factors. Let's go ahead and hit those really quick.
Okay.
So one X factor, we've been talking about this all show, running backs. When Rico gets a shot, he's productive. Maybe they decide to give him more of a shot after last week's production. If they do, what does he do with it? Can he take the ball out of the Eagles' offense's hands and keep the game more competitive. I think he has a shot to have another 100-yard game because I don't trust the Eagles linebackers at all. I just don't trust them.
I hope so. I mean, I hope we run the ball because if we're not running the ball, we have even less chance of winning than when we started. So,
yeah, Mike McCarthy won't run the ball. You're right. And if he does, Michael Clark, he's going to split it up between other running backs and not take full advantage of the best running back on the team right now.
Yeah.
Kilo asked the question, do we think Tyler Gang was worth the draft pick? I would say right now, yes. We just got to figure out Terrence Steele. Is Tyler Guyton our left tackle of the future? Should he go back to right tackle and we bring in a left tackle? I personally don't think Tyler Guyton's had a bad year considering. I think he's a C+ player, B- player. If we were able to give him more help as a rookie, I think he'd look a lot better. I think that's our bigger problem. We haven't been able to give the rookie more help because the other side with the veteran is not holding up his end of the bargain.
Yeah. That's a big issue there. We said it last year after the paying him off injury with Terrence Steele. Terrence Steele's really made that line. And I think that's part of the reason Martin's even struggling is because he's trying to overcompensate for the downfall of Terrence Steele. So you put both those together and Martin's having the worst season of his career. And that's really a tough, and that's something else you got to remember. Martin's probably gone. He's going to retire. If not, he's going to go try and find somewhere like in Kansas City, someone with the chance of winning a Super Bowl to try to get a ring.
Yep.
So, I mean, I would, if I was him, I'd, because the thing is, he is very well respected, highly regarded. I really think that he could easily call up someone. Hey, I want to try to go after a ring. Someone's going to sign him. So,
yep. I see we got an Eagles fan joining us, G. Fabo. He says we literally have 2 top 10 ranked linebackers. I think that's a little bit of hometown bias. I would like to know what metric you've seen where either one of your linebackers is ranked top 10 because it's not PFF or PFN or watching the games. Maybe the last week when they played against the Jaguars, but not for the season. And this is a very objective show. So
very much. If you need proof, scroll on back. We're not, what would you call it? A homer? Yeah. We're not homers. We're very, very much, we just talk facts here. And even sometimes at the detriment of our own team.
Yeah. And the Kobe Dean's another Mississippi boy, played for Horn Lake High School, 10 minutes from where I live right now. Watched him play at Georgia, was really hoping the Cowboys drafted him. So I like the player a lot. So it's no hate. I want to see him succeed. Just haven't seen him look like a top 10 linebacker. One more X factor. Dallas Goedert has been injured on and off this year. Looks like he's going to return this week.
Of course he is.
One thing about Kellen Moore, he's going to use the tight end if he's healthy. Our safeties have not looked good this season. So Dallas Goedert is going to have some opportunities, especially if Trayvon Diggs and Deron Bland are both playing. So you could see him make a lot of big plays for this offense. So definitely an X-factor player to pay attention to.
So he is for sure coming back?
I don't know if it's for sure, but the signs are pointed to yes.
Dallas is it's so funny, that story, because I don't know how familiar y'all, we wanted Dallas Goedert.
Yes.
And the Eagles took him from us. So.
Didn't they trade up in front of us to get him?
They did.
Yeah.
They sure did. Yeah. So. All right.
Yeah, I know Jeff, me and Jeff go back and forth because he has Goddard, so be good news for him. All right, so we'll go to the last segment of the show. Views have been pretty steady. The likes have been pretty high. Amanda, go ahead and think of that next trivia question for the last prize. And we'll go to our last segment of the show, which is over under, where I will give you guys some statistics and you guys let me know if that player will go over or under that statistic.
Over under.
All right, so Amanda alluded to this one earlier in the show. Over under 80 yards rushing for Saquon Barkley. Over under 80 yards rushing for Saquon Barkley. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Before I finish the sentence, William Wiggins says over. And then Marco E. Esther comes with an over. Got a lot of overs coming in. Over for sure from Kilo.
Double.
Jason Curtis, the ultimate optimist. Been optimistic in the comments all day, so kudos to you, Jason Curtis, saying under. The Eagles fan doesn't even have to chime in on this one because everybody's saying over. Over easy for Johnny Dan. Kyler Johnson, 115 plus. Brandon Perez over. Yeah, that backwards jump, I've never seen that before in a game.
Me
That's
neither.
ridiculous.
That was crazy.
Trevino Suavo saying over AF.
He ain't wrong.
Kilo 160 rushing minimum. What did you say, Amanda?
I said 175, I think, or 180.
Uh-huh.
I think I said 180.
Yeah. I'm in agreement with you guys. I think it's 100 easy. I should have probably taken it higher, but yeah, 80 yards rushing. He'll probably have that by halftime. Jason Curtis, I try to be optimistic. Jeff saying you said 200, Amanda.
Oh, I didn't think I said 200. I thought I said 180, but he could go. I mean, 200 wouldn't. If I did, that wouldn't surprise me. I don't remember. All I know it's going to be a lot. Okay.
Uh-huh.
And it's going to be great for my fantasy team. And he's going to embarrass the crap out of us. Wait, did we bring out the Salvation Army kettles? Aren't they out? It's November, right?
Yeah, they come out for Thanksgiving. Well, I think they come out for Thanksgiving and they stay till Christmas. I don't think they come out. I hope
they're not out right now because I already can see where that would go.
Uh-huh. Yeah, it's gonna be ugly for the defense Sunday. Jeff said, "Yeah, you said double 100."
Okay, 200. Okay. I'll roll with it. I mean, I knew it was up there. Trevino, when he went, look, he played for the Giants. This will be the first game he's played with the Eagles, and we have never been this bad.
Yeah,
since playing, we've never had a team like this since Saquon's been drafted. So.
Yeah, and that offensive line looks really good. We talked about that earlier in the show. They moved Landon Dickerson from center to guard. They put the young kid, how did I just forget his name? Cam Jurgens at center. They signed Mekhi Becton, who was a sandwich away from eating himself out of the league, and they decided to throw him at guard, and he's become a top 5 run blocking guard at 360. Adding on to that, Lane Johnson may be the best tackle in football this year.
He is. He's amazing.
Arguably. I mean, there's no question he's top 5, but he's arguably the best tackle in football right now. Not a lot of holes on that offensive line in terms of the run game. Okay. Next over under. Everybody got the starting quarterback that they've always been wanting for 3 years. Cooper Rush. Cooper Rush over under 200 passing yards in this week's game. Let me know over under 200 passing yards for Cooper Rush in this week's game.
2 interceptions minimum.
Wow.
Yeah. He threw 3 the last time he played him, and it was with a better team.
Yep.
So.
Okay. So Jeff saying over. Jason Curtis saying over. William Wiggins saying right around. Marco coming right there behind him saying exactly 200. So we on the Fifth Quarter podcast, we call that a cop-out answer, Marco.
Yeah, we're not. He won't let me push.
Yeah,
can't do it either.
We can't do pushes here. You got to choose an over or under. Carl Parker over. Jason Curtis over. No surprise. Isaac Reicher under. Brandon Perez over. It may play in the Cowboys' hands, and we could have a chance. Trevino saying they will scheme to fit his play. We talked about that earlier in the show, Trevino. You're not going to see as many deep balls, so you're going to see a lot of short games, and maybe these wide receivers will look a little better, and that's the last over-under we'll get to. Kilo saying over. Johnny Dan saying we'll be trying to catch up. Marco going over. William Wiggins giving exact number. Chris Hennigan saying I think he still goes over. And then Kyler Johnson saying the Eagles want to show the league. Dallas is terrible. They're going to show the league they're not playing around this year. Pretty much the same thing Detroit did to us. Detroit wanted to come in and say we're the new big dogs in the NFC.
And that's go ahead. Yeah, that's what they did. But I just want to say this. I'm going to call it now. The Lions will represent the NHC in the Super Bowl. I just don't see anyone else. I mean, if CMC comes back, maybe, but even with the Niners are having their own issues. So I really think the Lions are gonna they've got a score to settle. So
I don't trust that coach, Amanda. I'm sorry.
I know you don't trust Dan Campbell. I know you don't, but
the bigger the game, the more stupid play calls he makes. Going for it on what was the game they played? It wasn't Green Bay. Who did they play before Green Bay? Big game.
Houston.
The Vikings. They played the Vikings.
Minnesota.
First quarter, we're on the 34-yard line and we do a fake punt. Really? That's the coach you're dealing with. They win despite him.
That's true. I don't know. I just think that golf's on a different level this year. So
you're right. You're right about that. Hasn't he thrown less? He has less completions than something. It was some ridiculous stat. I can't remember what it was, but he only has like eight incompletions in 3 games or something ridiculous.
He's very, very good this year. It's very impressive.
I don't want to say who I think my NFC representative would be because fans won't like it.
I'm trying to think of who you could say. The Niners? I mean,
we're playing them Sunday.
Oh, you think the Eagles? I don't think so. I mean, the only thing Saquon could carry him. I just don't know if I see it. Kellen makes boneheaded decisions in really bad times.
You're right about that.
And they've had some really bad games. I don't think they're not the 2021 Eagles that they were that got them there.
Yeah.
So I don't see that being them, and I really hope not for other reasons.
But, me too. I hate to say it.
We'll see.
I hope G Fabo is not here actually, but yeah. They've got an offensive line, they've got a running game, and when the playoffs come, if anybody has to go to Philly, it's gonna be tough to stop Saquon. I think you got
to get through Washington. That's gonna be. It looks like we're at least the NFC East because they're still behind Washington. So, barring injury, Washington's carrying the division. They'll be a wild card, I think. So,
Jill says, "I don't think the Vikings can slide in."
Darnold's too. Darnold is he was playing really, really lights out, and then it's like a light switch was flipped. I don't know. He has really terrible games. Last week was one of them.
Oh, he shows up when I say that. Good job, G Fabo. But yeah, like you said, Amanda. When the lights get bright, Sam Darnold crumbles.
Yeah,
and I don't think. I'll say this, then we'll move on. Their defense looks good now, but their defense is a whole lot of smoke and mirrors. It's a lot of extremely exotic blitzes, and once you get in the playoffs and teams have a full year of tape on you and they can only focus on you, they'll figure out how to shut that crap down.
Yeah.
That's why I don't like gimmick defenses, because once it's playoff time and you have a defensive coordinator, an offensive coordinator that gets a full week and a half to focus on you. Yeah. You got this guy's talent on talent at that point.
Okay.
All right. Let's go ahead and keep the show moving along. Great questions and comments, actually. Falcons.
Yeah.
Their defense isn't good enough. I mean, they look great against us, but before they played us, they had 9 sacks in 8 games. if you're not getting to the quarterback, you're not winning in the playoffs, especially against teams like the Vikings or the Lions or even the Niners if they get healthy.
I have 3 teams that I'm watching, and
okay.
The Eagles aren't on that list. So
that's your fandom speaking, Amanda. But go ahead.
No,
what are your
no,
3 teams? What are your 3 teams?
Kellen, I don't. I think Barkley's really good, but I do not. Injury has been an issue with Philly, and I really do not think that I can see them getting to the divisional. But I really think that the Lions could send them home. If the Vikings played well enough, if the Brights and Green Bay could possibly send them home. I'm just looking at certain teams. I don't think it's them. So
okay. I mean, all roads are probably going to go through Detroit, though.
Yeah.
Unless they just
fall apart
or
injury.
Apart.
Yeah, or injury.
Yeah.
But they've overcome Aiden Hutchinson's injury. So
yeah. But if Dan Quinn gets in the playoffs and starts doing that 4th down crap, that's going to cost them. Honestly, the Eagles fans are starting to pile in now when I say the Eagles may make the Super Bowl. Twain Eagles saying we already beat Green Bay.
In Brazil. And it was a really bad game. Y'all played terrible. So, but it was the first game of the year. I don't like to look at first games.
Yeah, that's true.
So,
all right. So let's go back to over-unders. We just talked about Cooper Rush over-under. Let's go to our receiving core. So, over under 40 receiving yards for any Cowboys receiver outside of CeeDee Lamb. So we got Jalen Tolbert here. We got Kevontae Turpin. And then we have our newly added wide receiver, Jonathan Mingo, which Amanda and I both think probably won't play this week. But you never know. Over under 40 yards receiving for any Cowboys receiver. And if you say over, let me know which receiver you think it is. Over under 40 yards receiving. Let me know who that receiver is. Jeff asked why I put Mingo up there. I mean, he's the prize pick. Everybody thinks he's going to step in and be the number 2 guy. So I just put him up there because everybody else is being optimistic. Why can't I? Chris Hannigan, that's why Dallas don't get anywhere in the playoffs. We always have Super Bowl defensive. We never had to worry about being risky. We have always been Super Bowl defensive. We never had to worry about being risky. Yeah, that's true. Over, not Lamb, anybody other than Lamb. Only the guys that are on the screen. If you want to add Jalen Brooks in there, you can also. Even though I suspect if Mingo plays, Brooks will be the inactive guy. But Jeff has Tolbert over. Wiggins saying Rush probably has pretty good chemistry with Tolbert and Turpin. Chris Hennigan saying Tolbert over. Jason Curtis. Anybody other than Lamb. Got the Eagles fan chiming in. I always appreciate outside discussion outside of our fan base. So he has Tolbert over or Turpin. Johnny Dan has Turpin over. Kilo over Terp under Tolbert. Everybody pretty much going Tolbert, saying Turpin can't catch consistently. Since we got the Eagles fans in here, before we do our last over under, and we're at 2:15, we're gonna get out of here in a minute. We've got the trivia question waiting, so we'll put that up in a second. Eagles fans, while I do the last over under, we talked about the secondary earlier, and we talked about Cooper DeJean has been playing in the slot for the past couple of weeks. How has Quinyon Mitchell looked? I'm curious. The other young outside corner that you guys stole in the draft. Let me know what you guys think about Quinyon Mitchell. And while you Eagles fans put that in, we'll go to our last over under. And as you guys know, the last over under is always an either or. So for the last over under, which player has more receiving yards? AJ Brown or CeeDee Lamb. A.J. Brown's dealing with a knee and a hamstring, and CeeDee Lamb is dealing with an AC joint injury. So, over which receiver has more receiving yards in this week's game? I don't think Bland's going to play, so A.J. Brown will probably be seeing a lot of Kalen Carson, and CeeDee Lamb's going to be seeing a lot of Cooper DeJean in the slot. Twain, thank you for that. I kind of had a feeling, but I want to hear from an Eagles fan who watches a lot more than me. I try to watch the last 3 games before I do this show, and Mitchell really does look good on the outside. All right, so Cowboy fans saying Lamb. Jeff says Lamb, but the Eagles will run more. CD. Chris Hennigan saying Ferg. The Eagles fan even saying CD might have more. Johnny Dan going fantasy over loyalty.
Well,
saying AJ Brown.
I think the reason that CD puts up more, and I'm going to say this to not discredit what the Eagles fans are saying, I think it's because CD is really, and I don't think he's going to play, but CD is really the receiver threat the Cowboys have. AJ has to split with someone who's a very good receiver. They have a wonderful number 2 next to him. And I have AJ on my fantasy team, but that's the only reason that AJ has more or would have less.
Don't forget, man, you said Barkley's getting 10 catches.
Well, I do. I mean, they're really good at spreading the ball around. I'm very, very excited to see what our defense can do. But I do. I expect them to come out very high powering out of the gate. This is a revenge game for Kellen. I really expect them to run the score up as high as they can.
I do too. I think they're really going to go for it.
I think it's going to be very, very, very bad. So.
Yeah, 100%. So thank you to the Eagles fans who joined us later in the show. Hope you guys will come back and join us for the next time we play against the Eagles. We always like to have good dialogue from fans from other fan bases. I'm sure you guys have seen from the few minutes you've been here. This is a pretty call it like we see it show. So we're not overly optimistic. If something's good about Dallas, we're going to say it. If something's bad about Dallas, we're going to say it.
That's right. And we've taken some heat for it because some places just put out, this rah, go team type of podcast. That's not what we do here. We talk about football. Now our team's not doing so. We're not going to pretend like they are. It's just not what we do. So
yeah.
And I'm here for all the rivalry shows and an occasional others, but Marcus does phenomenal work. So feel free to join us anytime you see us live. We just talk football, and we give credit where credit's due, and we are not afraid to diss on our team when we need to. So
I don't say names, William Wiggins. But yeah, it's some overly optimistic guys. Thank you. I appreciate that, Twain Eagles. That really means a lot coming from an outside fan base.
And from someone in the division, that means a lot to us because, some Eagles fans very much don't like Cowboys fans no matter what we say. So
yeah, that's true. And vice versa in a lot of cases. All right. So we got our last trivia question. So while I type this up, Amanda, tell the people what the last prize is for tonight's show.
So this is actually a bobblehead. It's a wooden bobblehead. It's really, really nice. I like it a lot.
What player is it?
I have 2, so I'll even let you choose. I have Prescott or Parsons. So you can choose which one you want. But it's a Prescott and a Parsons bobblehead. Retails $35 for one of them, so you can choose which one you'd like.
All right. So last trivia question of the night. Once again, we appreciate the Eagles fans joining us, but Eagles fans are disqualified from the prize. We try to give Cowboys prizes to Cowboys fans. Last question. First one who gets in the comments with the correct answer will win. So whoever has the most Cowboys knowledge or can Google the fastest will be the winner. The question is, what quarterback was the first to take the Cowboys to the Super Bowl? First comment wins the prize. First quarterback to take the Cowboys to the Super Bowl. not Troy Aikman, not Danny White, not Roger Staubach. Those are the first three that popped up. Not Troy. Well, we got some young fans who think Troy was the first to take us to the Super Bowl. Roger Staubach. Got to go back a little bit further than that, but that's a good guess. I'm assuming you mean Bart Starr. Bart Starr is the Packers quarterback. Okay. We got some Dandy Dunn Meredith. Okay, I think you may have them stumped on this one, Amanda. You got to go back further than Dandy Dunn. We got
that
Danny
was
White.
Rocco, right? I Googled it. In fact, I checked. So unless the Google machine let me down. So we got it. Okay. There it is.
See, Kilo with Craig Morton. C. Morton. That is the correct answer. Hold on. William Wiggins got it before that. I'm sorry, Kilo.
Oh.
He put Morton before you put Morton.
Before you. Man, way to go, William.
I apologize. William Wiggins did put Morton. So Craig Morton is the correct answer. So William Wiggins, make sure you contact Amanda. End of the show.
I think Williams messaged me privately, so he's welcome to do that. Or you can just message the DC for L page. I'll see it there too. So whatever's easiest.
Okay. All right. So that's pretty much all we have for this week's show. Thank you guys for watching. Great conversation. This is probably the longest or second longest show we've ever done. So that's a testament to the dialogue that you guys provided. The views didn't go down. The likes kept going up. So really reflects how great the show was for you guys and for us to be on here as well. So thank you guys for joining us. I don't think I'll be able to do a pregame show this week, but you can always catch us every Wednesday, 8:30 Central Standard Time for the Fifth Quarter Podcast. By some miracle, we may be celebrating a Victory Wednesday on next week, where we will take a look back at this week's game against the Eagles and look ahead to next week's game against the Houston Texans. That's another technically rivalry game, so Amanda may join us again. You never know.
We'll have some really fun, cool news to share too. We got some cool stuff.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. So yeah,
we can't talk about it right now, but we'll have some really cool news coming up for next week.
So by this time next week, you guys will definitely get to see something that's very big for DC4L, and that's also a testament to the support that you guys provide us. But we definitely can't wait to share that with you guys next week. So join us next Wednesday, 8:30 Central Standard Time, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Well, X, formerly Twitter, for the Fifth Quarter Podcast. Thank you guys for joining us. Definitely appreciate all your support. We'll see you next week. Amanda, any closing words before we get out of here?
Thank you all for being here. Y'all are wonderful. Thanks for the support. I hope that we come in next Wednesday for Victory Wednesday. I'd really like to see that. We ain't had many of those this season. So, hey, I'll take it if we can get it. I'll deal with the quarterback controversy if it comes. A win's a win. Right. But I also like good draft picks.
Exactly. Yeah, I try not to be negative on the show, but if they prove me wrong, I'm not upset.
Yeah, me neither. I'm not. Hey, if they win, they win. That's great. I'm a Cowboys fan. Okay, I'm never gonna cheer for my team not to win. Mm-hmm. But I'm also not as big an optimist. I've been a fan for 35 years. I'm just not a optimist. So not anymore. It's hard to be an optimist.
All right, so we'll see you guys next week. As always, let's go Cowboys. You guys have a good night.
Bye, y'all.